Alright, back with another video. After the fun yet furiously frustrating fiasco that was uploading that last video, which took 3 days and, oh boy, or 2 days, 4 attempts, I don't know what was going on. Moving on to a completely different game. This is Archie from Malifaux. He's a Ressurectionists henchman, and a Frankenstein's monster-like creature that happens to be holding an ice cream cone. Starting off with Moldy Skin, 09149. I need a fair bit of this, though this is not going over the entire body. You gotta pay attention to these arms. It's that one. So Archie is made up of different parts from different people and different creatures. So I'm looking at the limbs that are stapled on, literally, and figuring they are not part of his original anatomy. So with that in mind, we're going to avoid those for now. And when we get to shading, I'll be showing you what you can do to kind of mix these up and get different effects. Too much water. Let's blot that out. There we go, that's better. And he's even got a big old smile. Bit. Nope, that's the shoulder. Never mind. Okay, that's good for now on that. Go ahead and do his pants next. I give him khakis. Let's see, where's the one I want? There we go. Terran khaki 09122. Oh. A little leftover zombie skin there. Go ahead and get the ice cream cone now. Here's the cone portion. We're going to start with Stained Ivory 09142. Don't need a lot because it's just a tiny little cone being held in that tentacle. quite a bit that's still drying. So we'll go ahead and do the stonework he's standing on. 09089 Cloudy Gray. And this is not a base insert. Just like the Relic Knights models I do, I generally on Malifaux do some custom sculpting for the base, based on what seems appropriate for the character, since Malifaux is very character-centric. I can slightly like a brush. In Archie's case, he spends a lot of time wandering around the slums. So, broken, uneven cobblestones. Looks like some of the other flesh is dry enough I can work with it. So for this secondary normal arm over here, we're going to go with 09041 Dark Skin. And this is to give more visual interest. Though it would be perfectly acceptable to do the entire body the same flesh tone. I'm doing this, again, visual interest, and to make the areas that look like they are stapled on stand out a little more. It's alright. Now for that big arm, I'm going to use Ressurectionists Blue 09115. Choosing this one because I picture this arm coming from a Neverborn or something, which are basically the monsters of this game. Yeah, that's nice and dark. That's exactly what I want. Pretty good. And we're going to use 09165 Dark Elf Highlight for that tentacle. Kind of a purple-gray. That should work nicely. I may or may not want to pick out those spines aligned in a different color. I haven't decided yet, and if I do, I got the perfect color right here. real careful not to nick the cone itself. There we go. Go ahead and do the leather on the boots and suspenders with 09110 oiled leather. Go ahead and go over his belt. Seem to have this too wet. Okay, go. And I think I can go ahead and do the pipes and the staples now. It's another one we're going to play with. We're going to start with, if I can find it, tarnished steel, 09206. The ice cream itself I'm going to paint as a detail. Should be enough. Just going to carefully pick out the individual staples here. Same on this arm. And Tentacle. Too wet. I got a bit of that on the blue, so we'll just touch that up here while the paint I put out earlier is still wet. It's got it. And that gets all the base coats in one go. So now I'm just going to wait, let that dry completely, and move on to shading. Alright, now that the base coats are dry, we're going to move on to shading. Working high to low, we're going to start with... yeah, we'll start with Blackened Steel, 09205 on all the metal, since that's the highest point on the model. That hesitation was me thinking about switching it up somehow. Because this is not going to, in the end, be pristine, clean metal. It's going to be rusty and dirty and grungy metal. So, starting with all these staples all over the body. These pipes going into his arms. Guess they could be cables. And while that's dry, we'll go ahead and get the khaki next. Khaki Shadow 09121. Got way too wet, got where I didn't want to go, but that's okay. That's what I have the towel for. Okay, and we gotta wait now. Alright, now that that's dried at least a bit, move on to shading the leather. Ruddy Leather 09109. This one's clogged up a fair bit. It's also almost empty, but we don't need a whole lot to do this, right? Gonna get that on the suspenders. Gonna try to avoid getting it onto the skin underneath, but if it happens, it happens. It's really not worth worrying about too much. Belt and boots. Okay. And I suppose I can go ahead and do the stone. Shouldn't interfere with the boots too much. That's just going to be Stormy Gray 09088. In general, what you want to avoid doing is allowing adjacent colors to mix while you're shading, though if you do, it can result in some interesting effects. Go around here, and just like that, see where it wasn't completely wet, it bled out into the gray, which makes it look kind of muddy and murky, which actually works for this. Alright, nothing wrong with experimentation. And this is actually making this look dirtier, which is good, because this is supposed to be poorly repaired, using the worst stones available. Okay. I think I can go ahead and do the flesh now. instead of doing each area individually, all the flesh, all the colors are going to be shaded with Ghoul Skin 09148. This will help make everything look rotten, basically. Okay, I'll go ahead and start on the tentacle, I suppose. Yeah, that is getting on the ice cream cone, but that's okay, because I'm going to shade that dead last. See that gap in the suspenders pretty much drank in that paint. We'll show you here too, because I'll do it again. Just like that. Trying to avoid getting this on the steel. Well, if it does, that'll help make it even look more corroded and unhygienic. It's going to need a good long while to dry. Then we're going to do the cone. Go ahead and finish that up and start on highlights. Alright, now that all that's dry, before I move on to finish the ice cream cone, you can see how applying that one shade over all the flesh kind of brings it together, mutes it out with that muted effect there. We're going to shade the ice cream cone with burnt orange 09111. Going for the classic sugar cone look. I just need a little dot. It's a really small cone. Oh, nuts! No harm done. Lucked out. Okay, that's got the ice cream cone itself shaded. Okay, go ahead and start on the ice cream itself now. Go ahead and use ruddy leather. And I'm not shading or highlighting the ice cream, I'm just painting it straight. Gonna give Archie a 2-scoop cone. Give him a scoop of chocolate. It's good. And using pure white 09039, give him a scoop of vanilla. And just like that. I notice a few staples I missed. That's okay. I'll do those as a detail. Alright. And gotta let that dry. Highlights. Alright, now that's dry. I'm gonna finish up with the... Oh, was that echo thing going on again? We'll see. Finish up with highlight and details. Take a bit of pure white 09039. And get that in the eyeballs. And that happened. Great. Alright. Well, I'll still finish up the eyes. And we'll cut it while that howling stops. Okay, after that little mishap, we're ready to finish up. We're going to use Bloodless Skin 09150. going to highlight the entirety of them. Okay, it's got the highlights on the flesh tone. Next, we'll take Scorched Metal 09125. This is going to be our highlight on the metal to give it a rusted look. I'm going to hit these staples I missed earlier. There we go. Clean this out very thoroughly and get it really dry because we're going to use it again on the leather. Speaking of, burnt orange 09111. A little more than that. There we go. Make sure this is really dry. Belt got a little bit of the green over it when we shaded that earlier, so that's easy enough to fix. and just pick out the belt there really carefully. Okay. Khaki with khaki highlight 09123. Then we're going to take Rainy Gray 09038, just a little bit, tiny little bit. Going to give his eyes a grade overlook. Get this really thin. Take a tiny, whoa, got a cut on the hooks on the tentacle there. Carefully dot this in the eyes. Gray him out. That. Then Misty Gray 09090. That should be plenty. And dry brush the brickwork. And to finish up the base with a little leaf green 09011. Looks like this is another one I'll have to replace soon. That might be enough. Paint around the edge of the base. Being very careful not to nick any of the stonework I just did. So you keep the brush fairly moist, but not too wet. And needs a dry, but there we go. Archie. Big, lovable, undead lug with an ice cream cone. Of course, he'll rip you in half if you rub him the wrong way, but, big, lovable lug with an ice cream cone. Okay. And I'm going to continue this Malifaux trend, at least for a few more videos before I switch to another game. And that's it. See you next time.